Jane Stanley, 2022 Woman of Steel. Welcome to the program. How are you? Last year was a long year, obviously with York, all the successes, League Leaders Shield, getting to the grand final, then a World Cup with England. Have you been able to recharge yourself physically and mentally ahead of the brand new season?
Probably didn't have as much time off as Lindsay Anfield wanted me to have. I think the girls were already in pre-season when we come back from the World Cup, so I was going to the gym with them, just obviously wanting to spend time with the girls. And then within, I think it was 3 days, I was like, right, I want to join the WhatsApp groups and everything now and crack on. And she was like, no, you need time off. So yeah, I just enjoy being around the girls and training. So I didn't have as much time off as I probably should have, but yeah, mentally I feel great.
Is that the hardest part though? You want to keep yourself away, but you can't because you love it so much.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, most of my mates play rugby as well. So when I wanted to do anything on a night, they were like, "Oh, sorry, we've got to fit in this session, or we're off to the gym or swimming." And I was like, "Right, I'm just going to join you then. Just keep it on the quiet." But no, it was good to have a little bit of time off.
2022 was a long year, but a successful one on the field with York, obviously winning the League Leaders Shield, but just coming up too short in the grand final. And I'm guessing that's one of the aims for 2023 is to bring some more silverware back to the club.
Yeah, of course it is. Any final, any semi that we reach, we want to win it, and we did. We just come up short against Leeds, and we've definitely reflected on that game, and we hopefully know now where we can better ourselves. So yeah, obviously we've got to get there first, and then hopefully if we get there, we can lift some silverware.
Well, as you showed during the season, they are beatable Leeds, but it's just in finals they seem to have something about them. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you know what it is yet.
Yeah, I think they've just got great game management. That's what it is. Courtney Hill was massive for them in the fact that she could lead from the front and she could control the every single aspect from yardage to good ball. She was in control. So yeah, I think that'll be a massive loss for them. But yeah, they always seem to come up trumps in finals.
You brought in some new players in the off season as well at York, a team evolving, obviously a change of name as well, and obviously hopes high for 2023.
Yeah, as I say, we're under no illusion that we want to win everything. There's no pressure on our shoulders in the fact that it's all internal. It's how we want to perform. It's we want to win. So yeah, hopefully we can see that in 2023.
You are the reigning Woman of Steel. I was at the awards when you picked it up, and I mentioned that it looked going to be a nightmare to keep free of fingerprints and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a stupid question to have started with, but as I've started mentioning it now, has it been a pain to keep clean?
Just about, yeah. Yeah, just about. I signed a disclaimer, so I can't say much, but yeah, it's good. It's in one at trophy cabinet, so yeah, it's still there.
When it was announced or when you found out, has it been able to? It's a daft question again, but has it sunk in that you were awarded that trophy as the best player in the competition last year? Do you see yourself as the best player in the competition last year?
Obviously it's a massive accolade, and I was really grateful to receive it. And no, it hasn't really sunk in. I'm a big believer in you can only get better, and as much as obviously winning that last year was absolutely massive, and especially with the talent that we've got in the pool now of the Women's Super League. But yeah, it's definitely not. I definitely not hit my peak, and I don't want 2022 to be the year that Tara Stanley won Woman of Steel, and that was it. So yeah, just hopefully moving. I just want to be a really big fundamental part of York, and hopefully lift some silverware. And then, as I say, the success individually comes off the back of that.
It is one of those things, isn't it? As you say, it's individual success, but only can happen with the team around you. You can't win an award like that without the team playing well around you.
No, and I've watched a lot of the games back in the off season and then reflected on my performances, and with last year our forwards were absolutely massive for us. I played on the back of a lot of the work that they done, and I still think there's areas of my game where I can, to be honest with you, there's massive areas of my game that I can improve, and it's only through my knowledge of being fullback and working with the players around me. So I've worked a lot on that in the off season with Lindsay, and we're getting now into the parts where we've got a friendly coming up against Warrington, and hopefully we can put the things that we've been put into paper in play.
So no player has ever retained the Woman of Steel trophy. So you're hoping that obviously with that improvement, there could be a chance of doing that this year.
Oh, well, anyone who plays in the league has a chance of winning it. But yeah, I think, as you say, no one's retained it. But again, it's not really, as much as it is a massive accolade, it's not really up there in what I want to win this year. My main focus is obviously lifting silverware with York, because as much as me winning that award, reflecting on last season, I still thought about that final more than I did about winning the accolade. So yeah, as I say, hopefully we just lift some silverware, and any individual accolades off the back of that would be massive.
How has this is the other typical question at this time of year? How's pre-season been going?
It's tough, but do you know what? It's this pre-season has been different to any pre-season that I've been in previously. And at the ripe old age of 29, I've been part of a lot of pre-seasons, but we've brought in some new S&C coaches, and a lot of the time in pre-season you just do a lot of running, and you just run and you run and you run, and this year we started to now bring in the phase of running into our pre-season, obviously only being 6 weeks away, but we haven't ran a lot, and I thought obviously that would, I'm on the phone to Lindsay and speaking to the S&C coach, and I'm like, we're not running, why is all this? And then actually you look at, like, we all wear our like watches or our GPS units, and the work that we're putting in is insane. So yeah, it's been different in the fact that it's not like we've been training for a marathon, but we've been lifting a lot of weights. The girls are working really hard. A lot of the conditioning drills are within games, so it's working under fatigue and stuff like that. So game related wise, our pre-season has been massive for us.
And you've been to Poland, I am told. How did that go?
Yeah, do you know what? It was really good. It was very busy. Some of the girls went on Thursday and stayed till Monday, but due to work, I went on the Friday. So we arrived there at about 10 o'clock Friday night, and I don't feel like I slept since. We were up early in the morning to go to the university and train, and then we were in the gym, and yeah, it was great just to spend time with the girls. Like, we really, we don't put on a front in the fact that we really, really do get on with each other. So yeah, just spending time with the girls, getting to know the new players, was great. But we had a great time. Yeah.
How is fitting in? I guess it's nothing new to you, but fitting in work, fitting in having life outside rugby. How does everything fit together for time with Jane Stanley?
It's a busy life. Don't get me wrong. Like, when I work in an office, and when I speak to the girls, I work 7:30 while 5, Monday to Friday, and then I shoot straight off to training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, to train until 9 o'clock at night sometimes. And then on the Tuesdays and Thursdays, we've got either like yoga, or we fit in an extra session, just off-feet con. So every single day you're doing something. But fortunately for us, our pre-season, we've had the weekends off, which has been massive, because family time and stuff like that, we can fit around it. So they do really try and cater for us to, obviously, we're not full-time athletes. I work 50 hours a week on top of training, but I want to go to training still. It's never a chore. So Lindsay and the coaching staff are massive on, if you enjoy it, you're going to turn up, and physically and mentally we do turn up. So it's good.
As we've covered on the podcast with other players, there's some money coming in to women's rugby league, but no one's getting rich at the minute. But is that a help? Obviously, it's not as if you can give up a real life to become a professional rugby player, but is a little bit of cash a nice little incentive to have?
Yeah, of course it is. Like, it all helps. Like, don't get me wrong, but for me, it's just that the ball started moving for the future, and that's what I'm all about. Like, as much as we are getting a little bit of money now, and obviously it'll help, because any money does help, but for me, it's just we've pushed we've pushed the ball from it being stationary. The ball's moving, and hopefully it'll just go upwards and onwards from here.
It's this strange thing where women's sport has to justify where the money comes from more than, say, Premier League football's obviously got loads of money coming in, but no one questions how much money is spent on players. But if York spent more money on the women than the men, then suddenly people would be asking questions. But at least the ball's now moving, and it does feel at York that you're part of one big happy family there.
Yeah, we train alongside the lads sometimes, and we're in and out of the gym with them, and they're just a great set of lads, and it's just no one walks around with any egos. Everyone's really great. Like it is like a family. And I spoke to Danny Kirkman from York, and he's like, "Oh, Tara, you going on holiday this year?" It's just normal chit chat. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just great to be a part of. Like Clint's obviously driving from the forefront. And it's just a great atmosphere to be in. As I say, when you're in and around York St John where we train, you just want to be there. Like it isn't a chore to be there, and I think having that great environment really does make you want to perform, because you see the bigger picture. You see where they're looking at in the future, and you just want to be a part of it.
And whether it's double headers or standalone matches, we were at the World Cup a lot for the matches at York, and that is it's a great stadium to watch from. It must be a great stadium to play at as well.
Yeah, well, the first time I played there, I was in a cast shirt, and I remember coming off the field, and my knees were like Tom Johnson's after he's just played at Wakey. They were absolutely ripped to shreds. And I remember getting on the phone to Lindsay being like, "What's with that pitch?" And she was like, calm down, it's growing. So, yeah, the first time I played there, I was a bit dubious, but then we went back later on in the year, and yeah, it's great. It suits my game perfectly. In the essence that the ball bounces up well, and little things like the size of the pitch is the same size as the pitch that we train on. So they've even done it down to the little details like that, which I love the attention to detail when it comes like that. So no, just playing there, the atmosphere, the fans, all the facilities that we get, everything's it's just a lovely place to play.
Mentioning the World Cup, obviously it didn't end in the best of fashion for England at York, but what was your experience like playing for England during that whole tournament?
It was different for me, really. Obviously, thinking that I was going to go in playing fullback and then playing centre, and it was time where I just had to think, what do I want to get out of this? And I want to be recognised as a good rugby league player. And yeah, short space of time to adapt to the centre position, but I just really enjoyed it. It was obviously spending time with the girls. We just shared memories that'll never be forgotten. So yeah, it didn't end the best of ways, and after it, you spend time with your family and you sit down and you're like, worked so hard, and we just fell short again, and I felt like that happened at club, and then it happened at country, and it's just like you just think to yourself, you can either sit in this dark hole wondering what you're going to do next, or you can just crack on and realize that you play rugby league because you absolutely love the sport.
Well, when did you find out you weren't going to be playing fullback? Because it was obviously a surprise. It was a surprise to us sat in the stands as well for that first game.
So it was mentioned in one of the training sessions leading up a couple of weeks before, and then Craig sat me down. I think it was 2 days before the first game, and he was like, "Right, yeah, so I'm going to put Fran at fullback," and I was like, "All right, okay, that's fine." Like completely aside. But you're going in at centre. And I was like, okay. And to all respect to Craig, he could see that, like, obviously it shook me at first. Then he was like, just have faith in yourself. Like, we've got faith in you. Just do what you do when you throw a number one shirt on and you go out there and play for your country. And yeah, to be honest with you, I actually really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the physicality of the position. I enjoyed learning more things about rugby, because obviously when you play a position time and time again, you can sort of get complacent in knowing what you think you know about the position, and stepping into another role for me, it was a great experience, and it definitely opened my eyes to different aspects of my game that I need to work on.
There was no sense before the World Cup then, because it did look like Leeds had moved Fran and Caitlin around a bit. They were swapping from wing to fullback, but you had no inkling that you might not be playing there.
Well, Fran played a bit of fullback, but then do you know when you sort of do drills and when things happen, I was still going in at fullback. So it were mentioned a few times, but it was a shock when I found out. It was a shock. I'm not going to lie, and I've told the coaching staff that it was a shock. But I looked around and I seen some of the girls that had been playing centre, and I thought to myself, at least I'm on the field. Like there was girls there that have trained in the centre position, and as much as I was moved from fullback to centre, some people were moved from centre onto the bench, and you've just got to take your positives. And at the end of the day, I was walking out in an England shirt playing for my country in a World Cup, and I just thought to myself, why wallow in the negatives when you can embrace this opportunity to play in a new position? And yeah, as I say, I really enjoyed it.
Did you ask Amy Hardcastle for any advice? She's quite good at centre, I understand.
Yeah, I had a little conversation with Amy, yeah, and she just said, you do you, T. Like, there's no point in you trying to be like anyone else, because that night I'd actually gone and I typed into YouTube the best rugby league centres, and like hitting lines, and I was trying to sort of morph myself in 48 hours into this perfect centre, and really I just needed to just be me in that position. And watching the games back, a lot of people said, oh, she's still a fullback playing in centre. Well, I was a fullback playing at centre. Like, there's no hiding that. I look back now and some of the choices I made, I was like, oh, T, what are you doing? But at the end of the day, I just embraced the opportunity, and I really enjoyed the experience.
Have you been bugging Lindsay, asking to play in different positions this year? Anywhere on the pitch you fancy playing other than fullback?
She actually rang me after the World Cup and she said, if you dare say to me that you want to play centre now, she went, there's not a chance. I was like, no, I'm not quite there yet. But she looked back at the performances with me, and we reviewed it, and we looked at different aspects of my game that are sort of hidden when you play at fullback. So a lot of the contact and a lot of my tackling techniques that I can use. And yeah, as I say, it was just a great experience, and hopefully it's added more tools to the toolbox.
It was a surreal afternoon at Headingley against Brazil, for the fact that I don't think anyone expected ever to see Brazil playing a World Cup, let alone a Women's World Cup. But what was that experience like? Because there was a lot of kids there on that Tuesday afternoon, which was great to see, and they all seemed to enjoy the afternoon, and autographs and selfies and with players afterwards. It was a great atmosphere and a great building experience for the England women's team.
Yeah, it was great, and do you know what? I don't feel like I'll ever feel like I did when I first walked out to start my kicking, when we walked out as kickers and catchers, and just that feeling of just excitement and looking around and just taking it in. And I remember just looking around and thinking, enjoy this moment because it isn't going to happen again. And it was phenomenal. Yeah, and it was great to see all the kids out there. And after the first game, I remember someone interviewing me and me welling up in the fact that one of the parents came up to me and was like, thank you so much. Like, you don't realize how much of a role model you girls are to my daughter. And yeah, I just, even now it makes me feel like a little bit, because you don't realize what impact you have because you just play rugby because you love playing rugby. And then you look around and you're like, actually, there's a bigger picture here. And we're doing something a lot more than what we think we are, which was great.
Does that add a bit of pressure to you? The fact that you are, whether you like it or not, you are role models now. Whatever you do on the pitch and off the pitch, you kind of not judged for it, but you're going to be influencing, well, perhaps influencing the stars of the future.
I don't really think about it, in all honesty. Like, I always say to the girls, like at York, like, if you question what you're doing, you probably shouldn't do it. That's my motto. If you question it, then you probably shouldn't do it. And that's what Lindsay and other coaches I've had in the past have taught me. And to be honest with you, I just think, just enjoy playing your rugby, know what you need to do to get better, and then you'll be a good role model, because there's nothing better than seeing someone enjoying themselves. And as a little girl, if I was seeing my role model enjoying themselves playing rugby and working really hard, then that's what I'd want to be like. So yeah, I just enjoy playing rugby and just go from there, really.
I mean, the World Cup, it was great as a spectator. Obviously, didn't end great with the semi-final against New Zealand. But how good are they, and how do we close the gap on them? I know it's going to be difficult because they've obviously got the NRLW, which is quite an impressive competition. But how do we close the gap on those down under?
I'm a big believer in it comes from grassroots. Obviously, we've got the performance unit, and we've obviously got the next World Cup in France coming up, and on the field, as much as I respect them as players and athletes, and as you say, the NRLW is phenomenal. The small attention to details when you actually watch the game back, they do the little things better. It isn't like we're a million miles away. They do. Stu has had a conversation with the England team recently, and he's just gone through a bit of video footage, and he said like it's really small things that make a big difference, and we're just going to work on that. And I think that if we work on that, then we may shock people in France.
It's interesting because recently heard from Tom Coyd, the England wheelchair coach. You mentioned that just little things like the quality of their chairs was the difference between them and France, and how quickly they could move. I don't know what equipment you can get that makes you closer to the failure, but it's just those little things that we need to work on. They are human. They are. You can confirm they are human.
Yeah, they are human, and you say like little things like what Tom Coyd mentioned. With us, it's little things like first contact and holding down for a couple of seconds more. Like it literally is the finer things in the game that will make a huge impact. And as you say, they are human. They're very respectable athletes. They're fantastic at their rugby league. Like obviously we watch them against us, and Australia are the same. Like, but as you say, they are only human, and there's definitely more from us that we can give. Like we obviously give our all in that semi-final, but I know as a country, and as obviously on the back of the Women's Super League that we play week in, week out, if we learn in our clubs those small areas of improvement, it'll make a massive difference when we get on the international stage.
We say about the men's game that there needs to be more internationals to get the awareness of the sport out there, but it seems the same in the women's, in the wheelchair game. We saw with the World Cup that those two elements, which when the World Cup was launched years ago, may have been just seen as side events, really captured the imagination of the public in both forms. How important is England getting out there and playing to grow the sport, not just among future players, but spectators as well?
Yeah, because with the women's team especially, you tend to have the World Cup, and then you might have one game the next year, and then a couple of games the year after that, and I think it's just about publicising and exposing the game, and obviously there's great athletes like Amy, Jodie, Emily that have come off the back of the World Cup, and obviously we've got the double header with the men in April. So yeah, I think it's just about performance-wise, it's good for us to play together. It's good for Stu and the other coaching staff to see us. So they've obviously told us what the future plans are leading up, and yeah, we're in good hands.
Warrington for that international, Wembley on the horizon as well in the Challenge Cup final. How big of a carrot on the end of the stick is potentially, because I did the Challenge Cup final at Warrington in 2018. Had finals at Bolton, Ellen Road last year, Lee the other year. Wembley is quite a few levels above those venues. No disrespect to any of them.
It's massive to play at Wembley, and I've actually got a little bit of a funny story on this story. So it's my 30th birthday this year, and my mum said to me, Tara, we want to take you away. So I said, yeah, that's fine. So I'll give her some dates, and she's booked it for the semi-final leading up to Wembley. So obviously she's booked it, and I said, do not change a thing. Don't change one thing in that holiday. I said, because I don't want it to be a bad curse. But she's already said, well, Tara, I know that obviously if you get through the quarterfinals, you ain't going to be coming on holiday, are you? And I was like, absolutely not, Mum. So it's that big that I'm willing to miss. I think we've got like a group of 15, 20 of us going out to Turkey, and the reason they're all going for it, my 30th birthday, I might not be there if we get to the semi-finals. So there's always a funny story when it comes to me and holidays. But yeah, it's absolutely huge. And just the thought of walking out at Wembley, like you see it. And I've been to one of the Challenge Cup finals before, and I've just sat in the stands, and I was like, I want to play here. Like, this is where I want to play. I went to Old Trafford, and I've said I want to play there. Like, these, you as you come towards the latter stages of your career, you look at venues and you're like, if I get the opportunity to play here, I want to play. And Wembley's obviously up there.
Obviously, I've never played at Wembley, but I have reported from there on the radio. And I was there the day before the final for the captain's run in 2014. And you walk out into the bowl, don't look up. If you do get the opportunity, don't look up, because it is absolutely massive. It doesn't look as big on TV as it actually is. It was quite scary. And I was just speaking on the radio. I wasn't even doing anything physical.
No, it is huge, yeah.
It's obviously going to be a big year in 2023. York are ready. How ready is the competition? Because obviously there's going to be a few more eyes on it after the World Cup last year. There'll be a few people who saw England play, saw the final, think, well, I'm going to get involved, watch some Women's Super League this year. How do you think the competition is going to go as a whole?
I think it's going to go really well. I think it's going to improve from last year. I think with some of the signings that other clubs have made, and the movements within the clubs have helped, and we've obviously signed a few more players, and I just think it's just growing. I just think no one's going to be disappointed when they watch a Women's Super League game, and I'm all about advertising our sport in the best way possible, and all the girls and the coaching on it. Everybody, you look at Warrington, you look at Wigan, Saints, Leeds, you look at every single club, and they're just working really hard, and they're just obviously wanting to improve our brand of sport, and yeah, I can't wait. In all honesty, I just can't wait for the first game.
I've been played for years without any coverage at all, really. Do you enjoy playing on the telly? Do you enjoy that different kind of atmosphere around when the TV cameras are there?
Yeah, I do, and I do. I like playing. I like playing and it being recorded. So obviously you can watch it straight after, which is obviously massive, because as soon as I finish a game, I get home and we have it on telly. I'm like, right, what's going on here? What's going on here? And sometimes I get phone calls. I'm like, just turn the TV off. Like, that's one of the main things is for us as athletes playing in the Super League, we can watch the games back really quickly. But no, it's obviously huge, and the coverage of the game. We just want the exposure out there of our sport and women's rugby league. And yeah, I just think it's going to help in growing the sport.
So you're just one of these rugby league tragics who just never stops thinking about the sport or watching the sport or anything about it, any way you can improve.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, it is like rugby follows short after saying Tara. So in work, I'll be like, oh, Tara, yeah, the one who plays rugby. Yeah, and it's just how it is. Like, I just really, really enjoy the sport. I just think there's so much that you can get better on, that it's sort of, I'd say I'm sort of obsessed with getting better as a player and helping my team get better. And yeah, it's I'm finding that a lot of the girls in the team now are like that, and a lot of girls in England are like that. Obviously Jodie Cunningham being the rugby league expert that she is, she absolutely loves it. Anything I say, she's like, yeah, but Tara. So yeah, it's just again, it's just real enjoyment of the sport.
Yeah, I'm surprised when I don't see her on the telly. She seems to be everywhere. Mentioned the NRLW. Obviously, it's harder for, like yourself. You've got a full-time job. You can't just take off a few months to jet off down to Australia. But I guess there's some players in your squad who might get the opportunity, or some players in the competition who might get the opportunity. Would you want to do that? Would you want to play in Australia at all?
I have had conversations, but in all honesty, where I am now is being at York Valkyrie and being within the club. I want to stay where I am. Obviously, the NRLW is massive, and I'm sitting here saying I want to improve my game. Then why don't I go over there with the best of the best to try and improve my game? But at this moment in time, as you say, with work commitments and whatnot, I'm enjoying where I am now, and I have a great support network around me, and that's really important for me as a player and as a person. But obviously, there is going to be some girls that are heading over to Australia, and that's massive. It's massive for the rugby league in England. Obviously, them coming back have played with the best, and we've now obviously got Georgia Hale coming over from the NRLW into our league. So yeah, it's good that we're mixing, and a lot of the girls are getting the opportunity too. And if it makes, for me, if it makes English women rugby players better, go and do it, because then they're going to pull on an England shirt and they're going to play in the international, and they're going to have experienced what other people might not have experienced, which is obviously huge when coming up against them.
Obviously, we're taking up far too much of your time on an evening where you're not going training. Or are you going training after this? Are you doing yoga or whatever?
Yoga. It's yoga tonight. Yeah, yoga night tonight. So don't worry, I'm sure I'll still find my zen.
And without revealing what day we're recording this, will you then be back home and watching Salford versus Warrington or whatever the game is on telly tonight?
Thursday nights, we absolutely love them, because you get to do yoga, you chill out, and then you can sit in front of the telly watching rugby league. Like, what more do you want on a Thursday night?
Sarah Jane Stanley, it's been great to speak to you. Best of luck with York this year. Best of luck with retaining the Woman of Steel and everything else. And thanks for taking the time to speak to us. And good luck. I don't know how to end these things.
No, thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
3 years into Zoom and I still don't know how to finish it.